Alright, today I'm going to show you how to turn a C6Z shifter into something you can use with a momentary switch using basic supplies you can get off Amazon, including pigtail connectors, 1 amp momentary switches, thread of your choice, some needles. You only really need the curved needle because you're working with leather, a thread cutter tool, pliers, and some super glue. You also need a drill and some drill bits and probably a soldering iron. So here we go. Hey everyone. Today we are working on a momentary switch for my line lock. So I've got a tilting master cylinder and a Magnus launch control device to put into the Corvette here. And before I got started on that, I figured I'd figure out a good way to mount a push button switch. So my theory is I want to be able to just depress and have it work on command, pretty much in first gear. And looking around the cockpit of the vehicle, trying to figure out where to put it. I thought about backside of the steering wheel, but then I got to pull apart the clock spring and run everything through there. I don't really want to push it and have to come back and find first gear, so I'm not going to put it in the switch panel I've got for the nitrous, nor am I going to put it in kind of the tombstone area. So I started looking at the shifter, and I've got this. This is a 6-gun shooter shifter. I've got a place on the back side I can run some wiring because it's got a slot key. And my theory is I should be able to run the wires down here and then zip tie them off at the boot and then have a little bit of slack down here, and they should be fine forward and aft because there's not a lot of movement shift wise. So I took a measurement from the position of the screw to the top of the shaft, and that's going to be roughly 2.1 inches. And then the shifter in and of itself, I don't know if I can see in there, yeah, there's a sleeve that captures everything in, and that's 2.8. So now all I got to do is just figure out, I'm going to measure up 2.1 and then 2.8, figure out how high it goes, because I want to be able to get the wires inside the sleeve and figure out where I want the shifter to, where I want it to go. So I kind of hold it like this when I'm at the track, sometimes like this. So I'm thinking one of these two fingers, but we'll give it a try. Alright, quick update on this. Got 2 lines here. This is where the shifter rod goes to. This is the top of the base. And you can see in there, we've got a little bit of a drill bit poking through, so we're just going to enlarge the hole and try to get a switch. I haven't decided what color I'm going to go with. I've got green, white, black, but we'll get this wrapped up. Alright, 1/4-inch hole drilled. That gets us really close. As you remember, there was a .265 body cavity. So I'll actually step up the inside of the plastic drilling to a 5/16 so there's room. And then I actually plan on mounting the ring to the leather in and of itself. So next step is I started the seam rip here, pull the stitching up, and then I can mount the switch. Alright, move back inside. So I've used a seam ripper to take out the seams all the way up to this top part here. I may have to continue with that here, but now I can peel back the leather here, and now I'll mount my switch in there cavity, and then I will mount the retainer over the top here. Now on the C6Z shifters, there's a little bit of rubber cement and contact cement that holds this in place. So one of the things I recommend you have on hand is some contact cement to be able to put this back together. Now I changed out the stitching on this to green a couple years ago. So I believe I have a union right here if memory serves correct. It looks like there's a knot in there. And they're meant to be a little super glue, so I'll just have to trim this here. Now if you've never used a seam ripper before, these are pretty simple. You can get these pretty much anywhere, Walmart, Hobby Lobby. And all it is I keep the end on here because I like to, there's a sharp edge underneath, but there's a blade, kind of hard to see. The tip here you can rip with, and then there's a blade on the inside. So you just want to see if I have one left to show here. I'm going to just kind of put underneath, like that, and just pull up, and it'll pull everything straight through, just like that. Works pretty slick. If you don't want to pull the threads out, you can actually just put the seam ripper in the ridge and just push, and it'll cut it right through. Alright, so after you've drilled the hole, you just want to insert the micro switch. So I ended up running a 5/16 hole in the inside, and then this is a 1/4 inch over the top. So she'll just slide right in, and then just seat it down past the insulation a little bit. And it's hard to tell from this angle, but there's no switch poking through on the inside. So it should just slide right on. I may have to notch the shifter for the wires a little bit. And then rubber boot, just kind of lift it up over. Lift it on over. Push down. And just throw your washer and your nut on. A little bit of contact cement in here, and then you can sew it back up. Alright, welcome back. So where we left off is we had mounted the switch in the Z06 shift knob, got it routed through here, and I had to stop for two reasons. One is I need to make a connection. So enter these, pick these up on Amazon, everything will be in the link below. And it's just a quick connection, and it's got a nice little grab tab. See if I can get a good close up here. Focus. There we go. So it's got a nice tab and a grab on this side as well. And this will go together. It's only 22 amps or 22 gauge. It's a 1 amp switch. This will actually be used for a relay trigger. So we'll just solder these together, and then we'll reinstall the knob. I need to put a little bit of contact cement on here and then rethread this back up, but then we're good to go. The reason why we're doing all this is for this piece, installing a Magnus launch control device, as well as there's a Tickmaster cylinder over in that corner. So stay tuned. Alright, we're soldered together. So, tip when you're soldering, when you're running really small gauge stuff, you actually want to put a little bit of solder. You can probably see this this tip here. Focus. That's not working. But anyway, I pre-tinned it and then laid the wire on top and then just add a little bit of solder. You got to be really quick because you don't want to melt the wiring, and you don't want the solder to wick back into the wire. So if you just sit here and just keep loading it on, it's going to wick back into the wire, and it's going to actually weaken the wire. You just want it to be a nice solid connection so you can, do this and not have any deformities. So now I've got some heat shrink tubing. I'll slide it over the top. I chose clear because it's the smallest gauge I have, and it allows me to make sure that everything gets tightened up raw. And then I'll throw a little sleeve over the top of that, and then we should be able to fit it right back on the shifter. And we're finished. Shielded, soldered, and most importantly I can detach it and unattach it. So now the next step would be to wire in a relay in the car, run one of the wires out to where the solenoid is going to run for the clutch controller, tap the fuse, and we'll go over that here. Alright, and that's it. We got a 1 amp momentary switch. Should fit in my hand perfectly when I shift, and I can actually use it to hold when I launch. So if you found this useful, don't forget to share, click, like, and subscribe for future updates. Thanks.